In the top stories, police investigating shooting incident in Nevis. Philip J. Pierre officially sworn in as St. Lucia's Prime Minister, and new study sheds light on long COVID in the UK. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Thursday, the 29th of July, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, the police are investigating a shooting incident in Nevis that has left one person hospitalized. According to a police source, the incident occurred at Stony Grove at about 3 o'clock this morning. As investigations are still underway, the details are unclear, but the police have confirmed a man was shot and injured, and he's now warded at the Alexandra Hospital. Meanwhile, police have released more information regarding a double homicide on Tuesday night. Preliminary investigations so far have revealed that 36-year-old Kyle Cleveland Williams and 29-year-old Akeem Paris, both of Carty Alley, were sitting at the junction of George Street and Carty Alley when armed masked assailants approached and fired several gunshots in their direction. Both men were struck several times about the body. Williams died at the scene, and Paris was transported to the J&F General Hospital, where he later died. The scene was processed by personnel from the Forensic Services Unit, and several pieces of evidence were taken into custody. The police are asking anyone with information to call the nearest police station or the crime hotline at 707, where information can be given anonymously. Investigations are ongoing. The new British High Commissioner to St. Kitts and Nevis, resident in Barbados, His Excellency Scott Furston Wood, reaffirmed the friendship and historic ties between the Federation and the UK as he presented his credentials to Prime Minister Dr. the Honourable Timothy Harris during a virtual meeting on Wednesday. Among the matters discussed were issues of climate change, rebuilding in the face of COVID-19, renewable energy development, partnerships with the UK, prison reform and trade. Prime Minister Harris, in accepting the credentials, indicated that there's long been a special relationship between both countries. The Prime Minister also stated that there is a need for further consolidation of this special relationship in ways that would bring tangible benefits for St. Kitts and Nevis. His Excellency Furston Wood is based in Barbados and leads the UK's recently expanded diplomatic presence in the Eastern Caribbean. He assumed duties there in April of 2021. In the age of COVID, being able to make online purchases has become vital to maintaining social distancing. In St. Kitts and Nevis, that has increased over the past 2 years, and TDC Group of companies is the latest to join the local fleet of online merchants with the launch of its website on Thursday. The shoptdcgroup.com platform enables shopping from its departments such as furniture, household and appliances, stationery and office supplies, home and building, and lawn and gardening, among others. Persons can sign up for accounts, save lists to their accounts, and or make purchases right away. Orders are processed immediately, and items will be delivered within 2 to 4 working days or can be collected from in-store. Purchases and deliveries extend to Nevis as well. We now move to news on the regional scene. Newly elected Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip J. Pierre, was sworn in on Wednesday following the SLP's landslide victory in the 2021 general elections. More in this HTS News report.
I, Philip Joseph Pierre, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to St. Lucia, and I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of St. Lucia, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of St. Lucia. So help me God.
In a brief and solemn ceremony Wednesday, the leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, Philip Joseph Pierre, took his oaths and affixed his signatures to the official documents, becoming the 9th person to hold the office of St. Lucia's Prime Minister. The incoming Prime Minister, in his maiden address, spoke of his journey from a boy often underestimated to becoming an accomplished adult, now occupying the office of the head of government of St. Lucia.
It has been a long and difficult journey, one that began when a child, born to Ogis, a policeman, and Evelyn, a teacher. This child grew to be a man always underestimated, sometimes ridiculed as a stutterer. But only this child knew that with the help of God, patience, dedication, and hard work, he would one day rise to be able to serve his people with love and humility.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre said he would remain faithful to his promise to be an inclusive leader who intends, along with the cabinet of ministers, to govern in the interests of the people of St. Lucia.
As Prime Minister, I promise to be Prime Minister not for some of the people, but for all the people. The St. Lucia Labour Party has won the general election. However, we now have to manage an inclusive, equitable, and just society. I believe that our island can be one where dignity of the human person is preserved and respected, where our citizens are treated equally and given the opportunity to grow and achieve their full potential.
The soon-to-be cabinet colleagues, other dignitaries and officials of the St. Lucia Labour Party came to witness what was effectively the changing of the guards, ushering a new team of men and women to take over the affairs of the government of St. Lucia. Stanley Lucian for the HDS News Force.
Still on the regional scene, several files containing fake vaccination cards are on the way to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Health Minister Terence Delsing made the revelation during Wednesday's update on COVID-19. Sunil Lala of TTT News reports.
Files are actually on the way to the police.
Health Minister Terence Delsing says they are aware that COVID-19 vaccination cards are being sold, but says the ministry has received information and has sent that to the relevant authorities. Mr. Delsing says the ministry recently received the information and assures that they are taking the matter seriously. The minister quoted the Forgery Act, which states that those found guilty of this offence could face imprisonment.
So a couple files brought forward with information from a very concerned whistleblower are actually on the way to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for their action. And if proved to be valid, those persons will go before the courts and be imprisoned for 7 years. We are taking this seriously.
Mr. Delsing is also warning that the person selling the card would not be the only one who commits an offence.
And it doesn't matter, both persons, as I might advise, the person who sells the card and the person who receives the card are liable to be imprisoned for 7 years.
Mr. Delsing adds that the ministry has also implemented a strategy to mitigate against this recent development.
So basically what we have been doing over the past week or two is administering vaccination cards on a morning to all sites in tandem with the number of vaccines. So if a site is getting, let's say, 100 vaccines a day, you get 100 cards per day.
At the end of each day, the minister says the number of vaccines administered and cards distributed will be reconciled. Sonolala, TTT News.
Internationally, millions of people in the United Kingdom are living with long COVID, which can affect their ability to live a normal life. The symptoms are so wide-ranging that its actual diagnosis has proved difficult until now. A new study gives some answers. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hull reports.
In the UK alone, almost 130,000 people have lost their lives to COVID-19. Many more have lost their quality of life.
It's been awful. What I describe as hell. On the best day, I probably feel 30% of my pre-COVID self. On the worst days, it can be 5% or less. Things like brain fog, which feels like I have a constant concussion, eyesight difficulties, floaters in my eyes all the time, constant tinnitus. I get all sorts of rashes, bleeding problems, purple toes.
Shaney Wright is one of those living with long COVID, 16 months after catching the virus.
I've had a number of scans, I've seen a number of specialists. None of them can give me any answers. When it comes to doctors, I'd say at worst, You know, you get doctors that simply don't believe you. They don't believe that long COVID exists. And at best, doctors, they kind of just shrug their shoulders and they say, well, it's a new illness, we don't know what to do.
Studies are underway to understand the damage to the lungs, heart and brain that lead to long COVID, with researchers in Qatar reporting a breakthrough, a way of diagnosing the condition by looking for nerve damage in the eye.
Nerve fibre loss is as a consequence of multiple neurodegenerative diseases. But there is a peculiar pattern in here, which is that we are seeing these immune cells, which we don't see in a lot of other neurodegenerative conditions. So there is something that is additional that we're finding here, which is nerve loss and activation of immune cells, which may be more specific to long COVID.
As the pandemic goes on, this memorial wall on the banks of the River Thames in London will continue to fill up with the names of those who've lost their lives to COVID-19. What isn't remembered here, of course, are the more than 3 million people in the UK who say they're living with the symptoms of long COVID, for which there currently is no cure, but for which there may now be the important first step of diagnosis.
Anything that can be used as some kind of biomarker for long COVID is massively helpful, because not only does it give some insight into what is going on and potentially down the line lead to treatments, because that's what we all want, is effective treatments to end this nightmare. But also it says to those doctors that deny the existence of long COVID that this thing, of course it's real. Look at the science.
A glimmer of hope in an ordeal so far without end. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, London.
Tunisia's political crisis has taken a new turn, with President Kais Saied accusing 3 parties of receiving foreign funds before elections in 2019. That accusation is disputed by Ennahda, the largest party in the governing coalition. It says there's no evidence to support the allegations. And while the investigation began before Saied removed the Prime Minister and imposed emergency law, it does place more pressure on the president's main rivals. Al Jazeera's Gillian Wolfe report.
The streets of Tunisia's capital are mostly calm, but on Wednesday the president again moved to tighten his control of the government. Speaking in a televised interview, President Kais Saied accused politicians of corruption, costing the country billions of dollars.
The money stolen from the Tunisian people must be restored. A decision will be made to take measures against the perpetrators who have taken these public funds. We will deal with these people in a proportionate manner.
That accusation is disputed by Ennahda, the largest party in the government coalition.
These are not new allegations. These have been raised by rival parties many years ago and repeatedly. Tunisian law of parties is quite strict in terms of funding, and Ennahda has always complied with the law. There has never been any evidence of such foreign funding.
Tunisia's young democracy faces its worst crisis in a decade after the president ousted the government and froze parliament for 30 days. The president says he has acted constitutionally, but opposition leaders accuse him of staging a coup. One analyst says Saied's moves are popular, at least for now.
The question now is not whether this is a coup or not. Today, a recent poll has shown that 87% of Tunisians, they agree with the decisions of Kais Saied, and 76%, they totally agree with him. So as we can see here, the decisions are really very popular. Are they feasible? Well, let's wait and see.
Further afield, foreign leaders have been calling for cabinet changes to be swift. The takeover comes amid crisis. The coronavirus pandemic is ravaging the nation and the economy is in steep decline. The International Monetary Fund recently promised to help Tunisia cope with its growing financial pressure. The president has been calling on traders to cut the cost of goods, but even that, these local shop owners say, won't do.
Since the revolution, life has become very difficult. The people can't make do, although we sell meat with low prices. This market is cheap, and even in this cheap market, people can't manage.
And so residents wait to see whether the streets which witnessed the Jasmine Revolution a decade ago will remain silent. Gillian Wolfe, Al Jazeera.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows cloudy skies with showers in the vicinity. Winds are a moderate breeze of 13 miles per hour from the east-northeast. The temperature is 29 degrees Celsius or 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves not exceeding 4 feet. The weather for today will be partly cloudy with a 60% or moderate chance of showers, and for tonight partly cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of brief passing showers. Sunset today will be at 6:44 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:49 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.